Hello there, this is Cridical from Cridical Media, just taking a look at the 2025 Omnibus release of Silver Surfer, Return to the Spaceways. Predominantly from Steve Englehart, Stan Lee on some stories, because yes, he's one of the foundational writers. You have Marshall Rogers on one of the most pivotal stories. Ron Lim, who's pretty much the series creator, as a matter of fact, this is his cover. And then you'll still get the foundational artist, of course, John Buscema and Jean Giraud, aka Moebius or Moebius, depending on how you pronounce it. But in any case, what we usually do at this channel is give you an idea of what to expect if you ever come across these books in the wild. So we go over the exterior, some bonus material, art and plot points, and then a brief review at the end. Now this book, I imagine some of you may have been having this one on your radar for a while. Let's put it this way, even 2 years before this book released, I already had it ordered. Because yeah, it's really chef's kiss kind of work. And yes, we'll just kind of dive right in right now. So at least walking around the exterior, as mentioned, this is a Ron Lim cover design here, as he's pretty much the main series artist, so it's very fitting in that respect. So very prominent there. In terms of the spine, you'll notice that it does have the unique actual lettering compared to other Silver Surfer releases, and of course an excellent profile there. And you're already noticing something about this book, I'm going to mention in a moment. And of course, your typical fare on the exterior, although it does seem to have a little bit more flair than normal. But in any case, underneath the dust jacket, an awesome wraparound image. But yes, I definitely appreciate how they went about this one. So, very prominent. I'll tell you this much. Sometimes when a wraparound image doesn't capture the proper CVI, like the proper action shot to truly define the book, sometimes it's a problem. But here, they caught just the right amount just before going through the wraparound. Now, you kind of heard me mention it earlier. Yes, this book, you probably noticed it on the spine, but it's a big one. This is like a 1,350 pager. So yes, looking at the eye, definitely important. And you'll even notice that nice little flare with the purple ribbon design there for the eye. Very much well wedded. There are enough 2-page spreads where I will admit, because the book is so big, I think no matter what, you're going to get gutter loss. I already noticed a little bit there, but it's not the end of the world either, right? But in terms of bonus material, now aside from the extra stories you get, like those Elseworlds stories, they do in fact have, you know, your typical fare with, yes, your typical kind of bonus material. So yes, you'll get some older accounts of, yes, of course, the same kind of, you know, article design or interviews of the time. So pretty impressive that they include this kind of stuff. And for those who missed out on maybe the original Silver Surfer run, yes, you can still grab it. By the way, stay away from the 2020 release that has printing errors. Go for the 2022 and up prints of that. But in any case, yes, you're just getting a lot of awesome artwork. You're getting great designs. Some things about this particular character, for those of you who don't know, this is Stan Lee's baby. Like, of all characters, Stan Lee always had some sort of special connection when it comes to the Silver Surfer. Like, you can definitely tell in the passion of his writing anytime he came back for it. But yeah, this is just some promo art for Silver Surfer Parable, the same Jean Giraud story. Super awesome. Man, this is some of the better bonus materials out there, because it's an excellent hodgepodge of not just the cover designs, but sandwiched in between with, of course, proper interviews. And yeah, it really does fit very well. And yes, this is probably one of the highlights of the series, having the Silver Surfer Parable content in here. Not to mention the bonus features, too. Now, in terms of art and plot points, and yes, this being a huge Omni, maybe it is important to go over some of the details. Yeah, this book is heavy to the point where I think my hand was just now sweating. That's how much weight this book really has. But yeah, just taking a look at the table of contents. Yeah, you are getting content from his 80s run. So yes, that's the Englehart run, basically. So from 82 all the way to basically the early 90s, which is awesome. So you'll get the main, of course, Silver Surfer run, but then you get these awesome Elseworlds stories, or just one-offs. Like, you know, the origin of Galactus, one of the best issues ever, if you ask me. The Marvel Fanfare, which is like a pseudo Elseworlds. Like, if he never left Earth, he was just like stuck there. Judgment Day, an excellent experiment. Silver Surfer Parable, as I mentioned, one of the most God MC Silver Surfer stories. And usually whenever you come across Silver Surfer Parable, it's always paired with the Enslaver story with Keith Pollard. But yeah, such an awesome collection. This alone, I'll just say this right now, this is one of the best mapped Omnis ever. And I'm probably going to say it right now, get this Omni. It's that damn good. But the book opens with one of the most unique stories. This is from Epic Illustrated. It's called The Answer. So it's John Buscema and, yet again, Stan Lee. As mentioned, for some reason, he always came back to do a story that was always unique and very esoteric for this type of character. And this story, it's really just a, more of a moralistic story between, of course, Galactus and Silver Surfer, more of a debate on life. Basically, Silver Surfer, he and Galactus are having a discussion about what's beyond the universe, the edge of the universe. And Galactus already tells him there's nothing, there's no answer. There's no grandiose point of life being found at the end of the universe. And, Silver Surfer can't believe it. He himself travels through a black hole, and you're seeing gorgeous art from, of course, the God MC, John Buscema, one of the most foundational writers of Silver Surfer, the original run of Silver Surfer. Such an incredible story, and an excellent cathartic moment at the end of it. For such a brief story, it's not even like 15 pages. It's gorgeous, like absolutely stunning. But man, such an awesome series. But then, yes, now we actually get to the 1980s run of Silver Surfer. So essentially, the Fantastic Four have finally helped Silver Surfer break from Earth's orbit. That whole barrier that Galactus caused, that pretty much is the reason why Silver Surfer even had adventures on Earth. Because, yeah, he was literally trapped on Earth. It was his prison. But finally, he's broken free thanks to the Fantastic Four. And the first thing he's going to go do is go see his boo, Shalla-Bal. So he goes all the way back to Zenla. And it's all about just seeing if he truly did succeed in helping her out. And that's kind of the beautiful tragedy of this story. Is that Norrin Radd, he constantly has this thing where, yeah, he seems to have true passions and true loves. But he can never really, grasp it, He can never really have happiness. So yeah, he does find Shalla-Bal, but they at least give a logical reason why they can't be together. She's risen to prominence so much, plus the portion of the power cosmic he gave her. She's too important to the world for them to ever have a relationship, and both of their duties kind of stop them from being together. So I guess it's that whole, what's the concept? The whole idea of, duty and responsibility over, your hedonistic choices. Still, I love the kind of ground that's covered here. Man, Englehart really nailed it. And Ron Lim, you're kind of seeing it here. Very dynamic artist. Especially in the 80s, you will tend to get a lot of that. But man, it's such an awesome kind of a turnaround. But with that in mind, you'll notice that this story, it really does introduce a lot of the main, celestial aspects of the Marvel Universe. You'll be introduced to many characters like Mantis, Ronin, the In-Betweener, for instance. Characters of that kind of ilk. You'll see the Champion, who shows up later in X-Men and all that. Things like that. But yeah, probably Mantis, his relationship with Mantis really does take form. Yeah, just her quick little origin story. But, kind of a beautiful little tragedy between how she has her own duties, Silver Surfer has his, and again, another passionate relationship that just can't truly grow to fruition. Not to say that they don't have their fun, but still, I love the fact that they still cover that kind of ground. Awesome. You'll get a lot of that, Kree and Skrull kind of aspects. I'd say a lot of those kind of characters, a lot of their history and, what we know of those, Kree and Skrull wars actually does come from this series. A lot of the background and whatnot. But yeah, awesome art throughout. That's for damn sure. Believe me, I want to almost go on every page and just tell you a little bit more and more. But yes, at least at this point, as you're kind of seeing here, yet another paramour of Silver Surfer, Frankie Ray. Yeah, she's kind of with, Johnny Storm, but at the same time, not. I'd say, if anything, she and Silver Surfer have a lot more kinship, a lot more relatable to each other. But aside from that, you definitely learn to really appreciate her character quite a bit. And her connection with the original Human Torch. She's like the daughter of the creator of the original Human Torch. Or sorry, she's the daughter or the granddaughter? I always forget. My apologies. But in any case, awesome stuff. I just love the way every time I flip through this book, and believe me, this is one of the fastest omnis I've ever read. And that's saying something for a 1,300 pager. Just amazing work. I can't get over it. Just the same kind of tragic hero. You know, I've made this parallel before with Silver Surfer. How he's like the Red Cross Knight. Basically that archetype. It really does shine through poetically in this particular series. In general with Silver Surfer, I find you tend to get a lot of that. But man, just epic kind of storytelling, that's for sure. And I believe, yes, at this point, yeah, I think I just saw him already. You kind of get this character, the In-Betweener, who I have to admit, there's a lot of parallels between him and Thanos. But I'd say he's like a somewhat more powerful version of Thanos, since the In-Betweener can actually challenge Galactus here. But yes, one of the best kind of little team-ups here. It's like the enemy of my enemy is my friend kind of storyline. Love this particular narrative, and I love the way this one plays out. Oh yeah, speaking of the champion, there he is right there. And that's kind of what I mean here, where you're getting a lot more of the celestial Marvel superheroes here, and a lot of the bigger battles that, you know, nobody from Earth would probably even be able to comprehend. It's that epic of a story. So damn good. Yeah, probably one of my favorite parts of this book lies right there. But yeah, just a sense of familiarity with all the characters at this point. I like that. You know, they have their established relationships already. So I like how when Englehart is writing it, he makes proper references to things that happened in the past. And yeah, this whole subject, this whole series, it does tend to like reference itself quite often. So yeah, it is very important to maybe just read this one because of that aspect. Because at least if you are reading it and you're wondering, wait, who is this person or whatnot, you'll actually find the reference within this same omnibus. Like you'll find, oh, that's where the character's origin is and all that jazz. So I've always, again, appreciated these kind of omnis where they can almost feel very comprehensive. All the resourcing you need right here. Awesome stuff there. Man, yeah, like I said, just every damn issue. There's just something unique about each one of them, right? Man, so awesome. But aside from that, yeah, you will get, of course, returns of certain characters. Like, yeah, the Stranger, one of my favorites. He's from the original run of course, Silver Surfer. Man, absolutely. I always loved this particular character because it always seems to take like a universal level threat of an antagonist to even challenge the Silver Surfer. So with that in mind, you tend to get these very, esoteric and also evocative kind of stories that are very far encompassing. Like I mentioned, you're going to get even more political intrigue, even with the whole Kree Skrull thing, even throughout a conflict with the Stranger. Such awesome work. Man, I love this series. And like I said, it's almost to the point where sometimes Ron Lim, he'll reference John Buscema's artwork quite a bit, like using that silhouette effect that he was so famous for in the original Silver Surfer run and many others, like Conan and all that. But man, absolutely love that. That's another thing about this series. It seems to have a lot of parallels with that Conan the Barbarian series, where a lot of the artists and creative teams, they really do tend to travel back and forth between the Conan series and Silver Surfer, to the point where they have a lot of parallels, like familiar feels to it. But yeah, just awesome stuff nonetheless. Man, I can't get over how well, well put together this overall Omni is. But probably the best part, and this part of the book is pretty much the price of admission here. Oh, and by the way, before we maybe get to that, just a special shout out to Ron Frenz. What an amazing artist. You could almost not tell that this is not Jack Kirby. That's how good Ron Frenz was on this particular issue. Man, such a awesome take. Because even John Buscema, who's to me the better of the two for Silver Surfer, it takes a certain kind of artist to really be able to mimic what Jack Kirby could. And I love this particular story for him. Absolutely nailed it. Basically making Silver Surfer trip out and see, peaceful, innocent people as enemies and maybe cause accidental atrocities. It's a very unique story too. So I'm glad that they gave him that one. But pretty much this is what I was hinting at earlier. this book, they went out of their way to add some of the best overall Elseworld Silver Surfer related material. It's pretty damn awesome. So yeah, speaking of which, with Jack Kirby earlier, you are actually going to get Jack Kirby on this particular issue. As the name suggests, it is the issue that pretty much tells the story of Galactus's origin, from the previous universe to entering our own, and how through reading this particular issue, you can kind of understand why Galactus or Galen had any sort of sympathy for Norrin Radd and made him his herald, because of how similar, how much of their lives paralleled each other. Both of them from a dying world, both of them make a huge sacrifice. I guess it makes sense that Galactus would see the heart of Norrin Radd and take him on for that. But now comes another unique one from the Marvel Fanfare series, where pretty much they did like Elseworlds events. What's unique about this book is that it's actually John Buscema's layouts, but it's a different artist taking on the pencils. So it's unique because you can almost see that, yeah, it looks like John Buscema, but there's just something slightly off about it. And yeah, it turns out it's a different artist altogether. But that just goes to show you how important it is to even have the layout design from one creator, and how much of their influence still is notable and present. Such an awesome attempt here. But at least in this particular issue, being in Elseworlds, it plays with the idea that Silver Surfer never leaves Earth. He's still trapped there, and he still has adventures and whatnot. But how much of his life would actually change? Turns out not that much. Mephisto will still go after him, the Faustian Marvel devil, basically. Still his number one big bad. And yes, he'll still have that pure of heart and still have those, relationships that he's had, and still strong connections to his old referencing. Even Mantis shows up in this particular issue. And it's all very fitting, I have to say. Like, very impressive work. Man. Even this Thor villain, I forget his name. I think it's Mangog or something like that. But yeah, even this particular villain, even though he gets slapped in, it's still intriguing enough nonetheless. But yeah, excellent ground that's covered with this. Excellent referencing to, of course, Silver Surfer's past. I love this part, especially when he calls Mantis Shala. Of course, that excellent referencing, especially with this John Buscema kind of aesthetic to it. Very impressive work. Yeah, I'm trying to think. Okay, there's the artist, Jack Abel. Yeah, John Buscema does the layouts, but a different artist on it. But nonetheless, awesome work. And another awesome Elseworld story they created was this Judgment Day one. And this book is more like an experiment, as Stanley even mentions here. It's a comic book where every page is one panel, one large, basically, piece of art. But can you tell a comic book story properly in that way? Turns out, hell yes, you can. And it's awesome. It's almost like a summary, or almost like an abridged version of Silver Surfer's original run. So yes, it does have like that intrigue between Mephisto. Yeah, that almost the identical story from the original run of Silver Surfer. But I love the way they kind of include Galactus as well as Frankie Ray. Just love the way they go about it. And of course, a battle that you would probably almost always want to see is Galactus versus Mephisto. So you get that in this particular issue. But what you're also getting is John Buscema getting to really flesh out his muscle on this. Like, really awesome work. Full pages of just glorious art. And yeah, it wasn't just Jack Kirby who had the Kirby crackle. John Buscema pretty much mimicked it perfectly, if you ask me. But man, glorious. Absolutely glorious. I love this damn book. So good. And yeah, just the banter between Mephisto and Galactus is some of my favorites. Like, yeah, I'm a god of demons and whatever, and Galactus is like, I don't even believe in gods. Like, I love that concept. Just that kind of dichotomy between them. And now comes yet another Stan Lee story. You already kind of noticed it with the past few. Yeah, Stan Lee, he always had a passion for this character. He seems to love Silver Surfer, he seemed to love Silver Surfer more than any other. And it really does show here. Man, what an awesome book. Silver Surfer Parable, it's like a retelling of Silver Surfer without any other Marvel superheroes. So the idea is Galactus returns to Earth after Silver Surfer had already beat him on his own and saved the world. Nobody really realizes that Silver Surfer saved the world. But I love the concept of this story where Galactus, he made a promise to Silver Surfer that he wouldn't destroy the planet. But what he does is absolutely brilliant. He literally just shows up on Earth, stands there, and just creates so much fear and anxiety that human beings start destroying themselves out of just pure fear and malice. And the kind of ground this book covers, you know, the concepts of religion, the concepts of what hope is, the concepts of nobility, the concepts of, you know, the use of power in many forms, not just Galactus and the power cosmic, but the power of fear even. It's amazing how much fear-mongers can abuse it and whatnot. But gorgeous art from Jean Giraud, Moebius or Moebius. You can actually pronounce it either way. That's kind of the beauty of Moebius. He himself refers to himself in both I guess, pronunciations. But nonetheless, so super awesome narrative, super awesome art. It's absolutely gorgeous, man. Again, another legitimate reason or price of admission here, because it's nice to have a deluxe version of this story. I've had this for so many years just as a standard hardcover, but man, so awesome to have it in this collected. And finally, the Enslavers story. Usually whenever you have a Silver Surfer parable, it's almost always paired up with the Enslaver story here. Again, another Stan Lee, but this time with Keith Pollard. And yeah, an awesome narrative. It is somewhat of an Elseworlds where this new villain, Morongo is his name. Think of him as like a cross between, like, I guess, what's his name? Mojo from like the X-Men series. And maybe just one of those, what's the word? Those like power leeching type of villains like the Parasite. Where, yeah, basically the Morongo, he travels from world to world. He has a giant ship like you just saw. And he enslaves people and to power his ship as well as himself. And even all the superheroes of Earth can't beat him. You know, like there's even a scene where they go out of their way. Yeah, there's this scene straight up where Morongo just decimates all of the Marvel superheroes at once. It's a pretty unique kind of story, let's put it this way. Mainly because of its somewhat adult nature. Because it does, again, take real world politics into mind. It even has a romance aspect that kind of goes, admittedly, with certain images a little too far. With Silver Surfer and this woman here. Forgive me, I forget her name right now, but super awesome narrative nonetheless. It's usually a must. Anytime you read Silver Surfer parable, you're going to end up gravitating to the story anyway. But again, it's more of a reminder that even with all the powers out there, even Silver Surfer can't beat this enemy this time, this antagonist. So just realizing there's a lot more to power than just, you know, the power cosmic or your overall force. The power of the mind and your ingenuity also matters in the victory. So super awesome to have. But yeah, like I said, and I probably went a little too long, but hey, what can I say? Silver Surfer, he's one of my top 3 favorite superheroes of them all. So forgive me if I went on a little too long, but honestly, this is a gorgeous book. I can't get over the fact that Marvel mapped it so well. I did scan it to see if there were any printing errors. None. So we're good here. I already mentioned how this is a absolute pickup. Sometimes I'll say, you know, try out a book first digitally or whatever. No, this is one of the few where this omnibus on its own is incredible. Sure, it's nice to have maybe like the Silver Surfer, original run, but this book does well with summary stories. Like in the bonus material, you'll pretty much get a summary of the original run anyway, so you can jump right into this one. But anywho, it's no longer about my opinion anymore. I think you kind of know where I'm going with this book. Get it? But you know what? I wouldn't mind hearing your thoughts as always in the comments down below. And hopefully, I'll see you folks in the next video. Y'all folks take care and enjoy the rest of your day.